Assalamu alaikum, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Thank you, Heather. And I will add to that the modern sciences have actually, in continuum of Imam Jaffar Sadiq's original idea of language development, is that at the age of 13, you actually have one pathway that you could use to learn multiple languages. And after that, that pathway starts to close and it becomes very difficult to learn different languages. So the knowledge of Imam even at that time was just impeccable, and he could actually envisage things that are now only becoming sort of obvious to us. But the question always is that most of people would ask you, how did Imams have such a knowledge with no technology, with no tools available to them? How could they impart such an important information even so 1400 years ago, right? So it's a very important question. And I will visit this today with you to a certain extent, and my idea really is, or my effort is, to set up the stage for Maulana. I'd like to give him the maximum time. Maulana Asghar Mehdi, he has, mashallah, made a tremendous effort and also stride to introduce Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam, not only to our own people, but also to other worlds. So this year, a major conference that is being held in United States, and then the first session of that meeting is dedicated to teachings of Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam. And there will be many scientists and scholars in the area of physics, chemistry, and also, I think, philosophy, who will enlighten the audience. And then the next year, the entire conference is dedicated to the teachings of Imam. And I think what we would like to do here in Calgary is to invite all of our Muslim brothers and also outside people to be able to introduce Imam Jaffar Sadiq's teachings and his major contributions. So I hope that our younger generation will take part. It is really unfortunate that we still do not understand or pay attention to the teachings of our Imam, which is really fundamental, and they changed not only the world, but also are actually still ahead of the time. So one of the questions that comes to our mind is that, what is really the purpose of our creation? And our children will often ask, is it just to make money or teach or do other jobs? What really is the purpose of our creation? And the purpose of our creation is really so that Allah could be identified and also His attributes revealed and He Himself be identified. But then the question is, who's going to do this? Allah has chosen very special people and imparted them with very unique knowledge, which is very unique in many different senses. They are in the embodiment of humans, but their knowledge is not just humanly. They have very distinct knowledge that has been endowed upon them by Allah. So that's really an important question, is that these chosen ones are the prophets and then Masumeen, who are really there to provide us and guide us in that context. There is a major difference, and I'm setting it up for Maulana. He will speak to ilm. And ilm is a word which is very unique to Islam. Other nations and other cultures and traditions, they use the word knowledge. Actually, knowledge is very limited, because what it does is that it terms only covers a theory, or something about a particular information, which could be either divine or corporeal. So, very famous scholar Rosenthal, he justifiably pointed out that Islam's word usage of ilm is extremely powerful, because this word not only embraces the term in terms of theory, but also action as well as education, and it is very unique to us. So I think when we talk about Ulum of Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam, we have to keep that word and its connotations in our head, because it is far more superior than just knowledge. So if you read the Holy Quran, you will see the word ilm has occurred in 140 places, while al-ilm in 27 places. In all the total number of verses which ilm is really, and all its derivatives have been highlighted, is 704 times. The aid of knowledge is a book, pen, ink, amounts to almost the same number. Other words associated with writing occurs in 319 verses. Allah is the first to teach Adam a few names that even Adam angels did not know. So ilm is referred to many verses as Nur, and Allah is Nur, right? So when you think about this, Allah is Nur samawat wal arth. And that encompasses the actual true definition of the word ilm, because ilm also has to encompass all of these disciplines and all of these areas. When you think about a tradition which is narrated by Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam on account of Prophet, once Gabriel came to Prophet Adam, and he brought with him faith, morality, which is haya, and aql, and asked him to choose one of those. Hazrat Adam chose ilm. And then Gabriel said to the other two, I have to take you back to Jannah. And they all both of them looked at him and says, no, we cannot go, because we have been told by Allah that you stay wherever ilm is. So your faith is really linked to your ilm and also haya, which is really such an important concept. So when you think about ilm, many prophets, I don't have time now, I'd like to give maximum time to Maulana. And when you think about ilm, and Allah says in Quran that there is nothing that has not been described in Holy Quran. So the knowledge or the ilm of everything is encompassed in Holy Quran. And then Allah also says to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that you have been taught what you did not know. So the Prophet actually knows everything. So anybody who comes and tells us the Prophet forgot this, the Prophet didn't know this, is an absolutely absurd idea. The Prophet knew all of these aspects. And then he says that also, so what is in the Quran? The Quran has the knowledge of everything that is on the dry and on the wet. All the knowledge is encompassed. And Prophet knew all of that knowledge. And as a result, his ilm was really at the level that he was part of the nur of Allah, nur of Prophet. And Imam Ali also learned all his knowledge from him, and he says that Prophet taught me 100 chapters of ilm, 1,000 chapters of ilm, and from every chapter I created another 1,000 chapters. And this is one of the reasons that he's the only one who could stand and claim Saluni, Saluni. But even at that time, people were saying, you know, instead of asking, what is the way to Mars? What is the way to other stars? People were asking him, how many hair do I have? So our Imams have also really contributed quite significantly. And Imam Ali also says that I have been fed knowledge like a bird does to its baby by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So all of that knowledge was not only transferred to Imam Ali, but also all Masumeen and all of our Aimma Tahar alayhi salam. So when you think about ilm, Allah has really endowed them with a three kind of ilm. And one is of the factual things, which is literature, language, and everything else that really exists. And the other ilm is ilm-e-ghaib. So they knew the knowledge of the past and then the future, and they could actually tell things that were not obvious to most other people. And then there is ilm of marifah of Allah, which has been endowed in our imams and masumeens and prophet. Because there is no limit to ilm of the actual marifah, the knowledge or the attributes of Allah, there is no limit to the knowledge of our masumeen as well. Otherwise, it will restrict Allah's attributes if the ilm is also restricted as well. So my take-home really message is that the nur of Allah and the Almighty chose them to impart this knowledge to help guide us. And there is no limit to Allah's nur, there is no limit to ilm, there is no limit to knowledge. And I know that you are all very used to listening things in Urdu. So I'll make something up while standing here. Ke ilm khairul bashar, ilm khairul wara, ilm kashfud duja, ilm balagul ula, ilm ale aba, ilm mushkil kusha, ilm bazme vila, ilm khairun nisa, ilm hadise kisa, ilm hai halata, ilm surah nisa, ilm judo sakha, ilm hai Karbala, करबला चाहिए जिंदगी के लिए रोशनी के लिए इल्म मदीना बना इल्म सफीना बना जस्ते महराज का इल्म जीना बना इल्म ही नूर है इल्म ही तूर है इल्म मशहूद है इल्म मकसूद है इल्म व इरफान से नाबलद हो गया जिंदगी का मज़ा बेसबब हो गया ऐसे बेइल्म को ऐसे बेहिल्म को ऐसे रुझान को ऐसे फुकदान को ऐसे बेजान को जिंदगी चाहिए इल्म ही चाहिए करबला चाहिए करबला चाहिए. So I think, when you think about the life and then the teachings of Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam, you come to realize that he really imparted knowledge in so many different forms. Even when he was young, as Heather pointed out, even at the age of 9 and 11, he said that the world is circular, not flat. He went on to really elaborate on the subjects of physics, matter, antimatter. He said that the matter and antimatter always exist in opposite, and if you combine them, even a kilogram of a matter and antimatter, the explosion will destroy this world. He also said that like our Earth, there are many other stars and planets, and like our Earth, they are all in motion. He also imparted on physics, chemistry, and many other subjects, but in the interest of time, I will focus on the theory of light that Imam has imparted. So Imam started his teachings in Masjid al-Nawawi, and his first task was that he should ask people to collect all the data. And this is what we do in our research laboratory. And we say that one day in lab can save you 3 months, as one day in library can save you 3 months in lab. So he asked people to collect all the information, all the data, all hadith. And then he used to give lectures which was attended by 4,000 people. As Maulana pointed out, Jabir bin Hayyan and many other people who became subsequent discoverer were his students. But Imam never provided a very detailed experimental descriptor of his hypothesis. So what he did was that he actually pointed out hypotheses, and he asked people to go and test them. And those hypotheses were really based on his ilm, which is very unique to Imam. And he used to give lectures, and one of the guy, his name was Shakir, Abu Shakir, he got up and he challenged Imam. And he said, you tell me, you told us that Allah is the one who is really responsible for the creation of the earth and everything else. But you don't show us where Allah is. And this is something that you have made up out of your imagination. There is no Allah who comes and grows the grass, or this ant I saw born in front of me. And you have really tried to manipulate people by creating these different hypotheses, because no matter which God you perceive, you need your senses to be able to validate. But my senses cannot validate. I can't feel your God, I can see your God, I can touch your God, I can't hear your God. So if my senses do not support my hypothesis, then your God does not exist. And he said, I worship this idol. At least I can feel my idol. I can see my idol. So my idol, my God, is actually better than yours. And people got up to stop him, but Imam said, no, let him ask. That was the way of teaching of our Ahlul Bayt. So once he finished, Imam said to him, do you know that blood circulates in your body? And he said, I did not know. Imam said, it circulates like a circuit. And if it stops, you will die within minutes. And he was surprised. Imam said that if you cannot see, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And now here, Imam has given a postulate that you have to go and really search whether the blood really circulates. Then Imam said to him, do you know that this statue that you worship, it also has motion in it? He said, I can't see. Imam said, a time will come when people will find that there is a motion inside this object as well. And he was flabbergasted. And Imam said, you also know that this very stone that you carved this idol out of, it used to flow like a liquid. And he started laughing. And he said, you telling me that this was water? Imam said, I did not say this is water. Liquid exists in many different forms, right? Some of them viscous, the other is not so viscous. But this very stone that you have, it used to flow like a liquid. Imam didn't use the word water. And that he was referring to lava. And then at that stage when this liquid was solidifying, if you had held it and you crushed it, it would have crumbled into bits and pieces. And he said, no, I don't know. So Imam said that the things like air and other aspects you do not see, it doesn't mean that they do not exist. It's just that you do not see it. And then also I think Allah has chosen the Imam so that they have a conscious and unconscious brain. And most of us actually have a wall in between. But this wall is lifted in the Masumeen and the Prophets. And as a result, they are able to see things that you cannot normally see. So I think, when you think about these little postulates, Imam also said the idea at that time was that the rays come out of your eyes and they light up the object. Imam said that that is not true. It is actually light which is reflected from the objects that you see. If you increase the intensity of that light, you will be able to see these objects magnified. So Imam pointed towards the camels that were grazing. And Imam said that this is much the difference, but if you actually increase the light that is coming from these camels into your retina, what will happen is that these camels will appear to you 50 times closer. That was subsequently used by Galileo to develop telescope. The idea of the postulates of Imam that when subsequently, and then he began to see different stars and galaxies and the earth. And then he also endorsed one of the theory of Imam, that it's not that all the other stars and then the suns move around the earth. It's the other way around. And Imam provided a phenomenal description of how this really happens altogether. Imam also pointed out that the earth rotates in its own orbit. And Imam also said that the universe is expanding. Inshallah, next time when we meet, we will specifically elaborate on these points. And Imam said that all the other stars are called constant motion, and the universe is expanding constantly. And the basis of the Imam's teaching, which was subsequently used by his students, was used to develop telescope. And Imam also said that the rays that come from the light, it's also in constant motion. And Imam said that this light has so much power that it can move mountains. So if Allah had so willed, when Hazrat Musa asked for Allah's nur, which was again ilm, that it would have moved the entire mountain. And we know now the power of lasers and how powerful these lasers are. And the same, based on these technologies now, you are able to really develop all these sophisticated microscopes, but also CT, MRI, and you have ultrasound. All of this is really based on the original theory that was postulated by Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam and tested by his students. So I think, Imam also said that do not pollute your environment because it will compromise your life on this planet. Imam also said that in addition to us on this planet, there also exist other planets, and the life exists on other planets as well. A time will come when these people will visit us, and we will be able to communicate with them. Now you think about machine learning, big data, robotics, and they have the capability of understanding and learning so many languages. And Imam knew that if you learn all these multiple languages, one day you may be able to communicate with these people who are coming from different planets. Similarly, Imam talked about physics, water. There is so much knowledge, and then so many people have actually written beautiful books about this. And our really next move should be to mobilize our community in the future to be able to hold a conference to which, inshallah, each and every topic that I discussed today, we will highlight it in a context of the scientific breakthroughs as they relate to the teachings of our Imam. I think we should take a lot of pride and also explore them. Let's not be at the time when Imam Ali is saying, Saluni, Saluni, I know my way around the universe more, I know my way around this earth. How could he say if he hadn't been to the universe? Right? He's constantly asking us, and what do we say? What do we ask? Either half of the people, because of the animosity towards Imam, they were quiet, and the other half was saying how many hair we have. So I think it's really time that we step up, and Maulana's efforts are remarkable in introducing Imam's teachings. Even at this stage, I think we should take really a lot of pride. You know, when it is for our younger generation, when Europe was still in dark ages, based on the teachings of Imam and 4,000 of his students, Muslims were performing cataract surgery 600 years before Europe. Muslims knew human anatomy 1,000 years before Europe. Okay, the irrigation and the system, the silk, the banking systems, all of these aspects were really so well engraved. So I think the idea is that for us to embrace the teachings of Imam and then move forward with those teachings, and especially create an interest in our children so they can move this forward. Thank you very much.